Alright, so welcome to another video. This week we're going to take a look at the common cliches that can be found in a stereotypical Hollywood sad theme. We're going to learn a pretty simple template that you can use as a point of reference for when you're writing your own unique sad music. Now, templates like this one can be super useful for understanding what's commonly associated with this particular type of music, so that you can make informed decisions about how your own pieces can either be similar to or different from the established mold. Before we get started, I do want to thank my wonderful patrons for their support of this channel. I wouldn't be able to put these videos together without you. This week, a special shout out goes to my newest patrons, Marlon and Boomer Dell. I'm grateful to have you both on the team, and I'm looking forward to getting to know you both better over the coming weeks. If you would like to show your support for this channel by becoming a patron, purchasing a copy of my book, or signing up for private lessons, the links are in the description of this video. So with that, let's get started. Alright, so first things first, let's actually listen to an example. Here we have a simple 8-bar theme that's going to get repeated 3 times. And with each repetition, the orchestration is going to grow larger and larger. Let's give this a quick listen. And there we go. A quintessential, simple, and cliche sad theme. Let's take a look at how I wrote it. So first, we want to set the stage for our theme by looking at the tempo and the time signature. Like love themes, most stereotypical sad music is all about keeping things simple. So you'll usually want to stick with either 3/4 or 4/4 time. In our example, I wrote the theme in 4/4 time. Next, the tempo will typically stick to the slower side, something around 60 to 80 beats per minute. Our theme was written for 60 BPM, which is a fairly simple approach since it equates to 1 beat per second. Now, with the tempo and time signature taken care of, we can start to actually sketch out the idea. Personally, I like to start with harmony first, so that's what we'll be doing. Most sad themes are going to stick to functional harmony within a minor key. Typically, you'll work with just triads, but on occasion, 7th chords can be put to good use. Now, I have an entire playlist of videos dedicated to teaching harmony, so we're not going to go too deep into that topic here. For now, just know that our piece sticks strictly to diatonic chords from the key of F minor. Our chord progression goes F minor, D flat major, E flat major, F minor, then another F minor, B flat minor, C major, and then finally F minor. With our chord progression ironed out, our next step will be to write a melody. Once again, our secret ingredient is simplicity. Most sad themes will stick to melodies that consist largely of just chordal tones, or notes that appear in the chords below. Non-chordal tones are typically used a little more sparingly, and usually is just short passing tones or neighbor tones. The one exception is that the seventh of a chord can sometimes be emphasized in the melody, even if it doesn't appear in the chord below. For example, take a look at our melody here. Each of the highlighted notes is a chordal tone. The non-chordal tones are essentially used only half as much. We have 14 chordal tones, but only 7 non-chordal tones, most of which function as passing tones, with a few escape tones mixed in as well, but the main idea is that the vast majority of the notes that make up our melody can actually be found in the chords just above it. So now that we have our melody and harmony figured out, the last defining characteristics of sad themes all have to do with orchestration. Now, typically when you need a soft and intimate variation of the theme, you'll want to orchestrate it with some combination of a solo instrument performing the melody and some soft strings on the harmony and bass line. If you need something a little stronger, it can be as simple as doubling or replacing the solo instrument with one of the 5 string families, typically either violin 1 or cello. If you wanted to get a little more nuanced, you could consider writing a counter melody and having another string family perform it as well. Finally, for a massive and tragic sounding variation, these themes are very frequently orchestrated with the melody performed in octaves by violins, violas, cello, and brass instruments. The bass line is represented by the low voices from each major section of the orchestra, and then you can have the horns perform a counter melody and even use the woodwinds to add some movement and ear candy if you'd like. But notice how I didn't mention the harmony, and this is by design. You see, it's fairly common for sad themes to just drop the harmony altogether, in favor of just providing a massive sound to both the melody and the bass line. Let's see how these strategies can be applied by listening to our example once more and taking note about how the theme is reorchestrated each time it gets repeated. So, just to recap, a prototypical theme will stick to either 3/4 or 4/4 time, with a slower tempo somewhere around 60 to 80 BPM. The harmony will pretty much stick to just simple triads and functional harmony within a minor key. Melodies will stick mostly to chordal tones, with only a handful of non-chordal tones being used to add a little personality. Finally, intimate arrangements will stick to a solo instrument on melody, with soft strings on the harmony. Medium-sized arrangements will either replace or double the solo instrument with first violins or cello, and can possibly include a counter melody as well. Climactic arrangements will focus on performing a massive melody across strings and brass, with an equally impressive bass line represented by the low voices of each orchestral family. Horns and woodwinds can be used to add a little more personality if you'd like, by playing the counter melody and ear candy respectively. Now, templates like this can be super useful. They provide a starting point so that you don't have to reinvent the wheel every time you need to write a sad theme. However, they are cliché for a reason. And you should never fully rely on a template if you want to write interesting and emotionally rich music. If you are interested in learning an effective approach to writing emotionally expressive music, I recommend checking out my video on the psychology of emotions in music and/or purchasing a copy of my book, The Musical Storyteller: Translating Story Worlds, Characters, and Emotions into Music. Once again, I want to thank my wonderful patrons for their support, as well as all of you who show your support through the many kind and supportive comments, emails, and messages that I receive. I appreciate each and every one of you. So until next time, keep studying, keep working hard, and keep writing new music.